In the last video, we talked about early signs of ADHD in young children. And one thing became very clear. Many behaviors that worry parents are actually about how a child's brain is developing. But here's where it gets confusing. Some of these patterns can look very similar across different developmental paths. A child who struggles with transitions. A child who reacts strongly to small changes. A child who seems either deeply focused or completely overwhelmed. And that leads many parents to wonder, could this be something else? Could I be looking at the same behavior, but with a completely different underlying cause? Today, we're going to look at early signs of autism. Not to label, but to understand what different patterns in the brain can look like in the early years. And just like in the last video, this is important. This is not a diagnosis. Many of the behaviors we'll talk about can absolutely appear in typically developing children. A child might avoid eye contact one day and be very connected the next. A child might repeat a word simply because they enjoy the sound of it. All of that can be part of normal development. What matters is not one behavior on its own. What matters is the pattern. And especially, how often it shows up, how intense it feels, and whether it stays consistent over time. When you begin to see patterns instead of isolated moments, things start to make much more sense. Autism is a neurodevelopmental difference. That means the brain develops differently in how it processes the world, especially in areas like social interaction, communication, sensory input, and patterns or predictability. This is not about intelligence, and it's not about parenting. It's about how the brain organizes experience. Some brains are wired to focus more on people. Others are wired to focus more on patterns, details, or sensations. And these differences often begin to show early, not always in obvious ways, but in subtle, repeated patterns in everyday life. Researchers studying early childhood development have found that signs of autism can sometimes be observed as early as the first 2 years of life. Not as clear symptoms, but as differences in how children engage socially, respond to their environment, and process what they see, hear, and feel. For example, studies have shown that some children who are later diagnosed with autism tend to show differences in things like how often they look at faces, how they respond to their name, or how they share attention with others. Again, these are not labels. They are patterns that, over time, can tell a story about how a child's brain is developing. Let's start with one of the most important areas, social connection. Most young children naturally seek connection. They look at you to share a moment. They point to show you something interesting. They check your reaction when something happens. It's like they are constantly asking, "Did you see that too?" This is called shared attention. But some children show this differently. They may make less eye contact, not point to share interest, or seem less focused on social interaction overall. And this can sometimes be misunderstood, because it doesn't mean they don't care. It means their brain may not automatically prioritize social information in the same way. They may be just as interested in the world, but their attention is drawn to different things. Another early pattern can appear in communication, and this goes beyond how many words a child uses. It's about how communication is used in interaction. For example, some children may use fewer gestures, like pointing, waving, or showing things. Others may not engage as much in back-and-forth exchanges. You say something, and instead of responding or building on it, the interaction stops. Some children may repeat words or phrases instead of creating new ones. This is sometimes called echolalia. And again, it's not random. It's often a way the brain processes and practices language. The key difference is in the function of communication, not just the quantity. Another pattern many parents notice is a strong need for predictability. All children benefit from routines, but some children rely on them much more deeply. Small changes can feel very big. A different cup, a new route home, a change in order. These moments can lead to distress that seems intense compared to the situation. From a brain perspective, predictability creates a sense of safety. If the world feels unpredictable, the brain has to work much harder to process what's happening. And that can quickly become overwhelming. You might also notice repeated behaviors or very focused interests. For example, a child lines up toys in a specific way, repeats the same movement again and again, or becomes deeply focused on one topic or object. From the outside, this can seem unusual, but from the inside, it often serves a purpose. It creates structure. It makes the world feel more organized and predictable. It gives the brain something stable to hold on to. So these behaviors are not meaningless. They are adaptive responses to how the brain experiences the world. One of the most important and often overlooked areas is sensory processing. Some children experience the world more intensely. Sounds may feel louder than expected. Lights may feel too bright. Certain textures may feel uncomfortable or even overwhelming. Other children may seek more input. They might spin, jump, crash into things, or constantly touch objects. This isn't random behavior. It's the nervous system trying to regulate itself. Research shows that sensory processing differences are a central part of autism, and they influence how a child reacts, behaves, and engages throughout the entire day. Just like in the ADHD video, the most important thing is this: no single sign means anything on its own. What matters is the pattern. When multiple differences appear together, in social connection, communication, behavior, and sensory processing, and when they remain consistent over time, that's when it becomes meaningful to look more closely. Imagine a child who makes less eye contact, prefers playing alone most of the time, becomes very distressed with small changes, and reacts strongly to certain sounds or textures. Each of these could exist on its own, but together, they begin to form a pattern. And here's what matters most. These patterns are not problems to fix. They are differences to understand. Because when you understand how a child experiences the world, you can respond in a way that actually supports them. You reduce overwhelm, you increase safety, and you create an environment where that child can develop in their own way. In the next video, we're going to bring everything together. We'll look at the key differences between early signs of ADHD and autism. Because from the outside, they can sometimes look very similar. And if this video gave you clarity, you can share it with someone who might be asking the same questions too.